box.
Welcome to Con Air, the podcast. I am Mark, the capricious slaughterer Hoffmeyer.
And I am Jay, Captain Huckleberry Cluett. And this is Con Air, the podcast. Welcome. This is Chapter 1, Episode 1. What are we doing here? We're talking about the 1997 American thriller Con Air, directed by Simon West, starring Nicolas Cage and a bunch of other people we'll discuss over the coming weeks. And on this show, we're going to break down Con Air into 40 chapters, talk about one chapter each week, with a special guest each time. And more about that soon. So, this isn't the first film Mark and I have done this with. We previously did this with Deep Blue Sea. So you can find Deep Blue Sea, the podcast, and then Deep Blue Sea 2, and then Deep Blue Sea 3. We covered all of those. Had a grand old time doing that. And we figured the natural sequel to that would be 2 years previously. A bunch more actors. Significantly fewer sharks. Con Air. So that's what we're doing now.
Before you start, Jay,
yes.
Do you want to know why I picked the capricious slaughterer as my nickname?
I figured it was an existing nickname that you were just reusing for the podcast.
No, they call me that in high school too.
Yeah.
But I was thinking for this, you have Cyrus the Virus Grissom, you have Garland the Marietta Mangler, you have Diamond Dog, you have Pinball Parker. You have very alliterative names that flow. So if I'm on this plane, I want to be a brat, and I just want to create just a pain in the butt name to say. So whenever people talk about me, they're like, "Where's Mark the capricious slaughterer Hoffmeyer?" Like this, it's a nightmare.
That just slaughterer Hoffmeyer all just rolls together. Yeah, I can see that being awkward to say.
Exactly. Yeah, I just want, like, when the cops say my name, when Mr. Exposition says my name, whenever, Dateline talks about me because I'm escaped. Netflix, they have a documentary about me, like, the Tinder Swindler and the capricious slaughterer Hoffmeyer. I just want everyone to roll their eyes whenever they say my name. I want no other alliteration.
The Tinder Swindler is already, that's a terrible thing to say. I can't, I've never said it aloud before. That's the first time I've said it, and I regret even trying. Because it's like that looks better on paper than it does coming out of someone's mouth.
The Tinder Swindler? The Tinder Swindler.
Exactly. So what was yours one more time? The
capricious slaughterer.
The capricious
Hoffmeyer.
Mark the capricious slaughterer Hoffmeyer. Okay. So chapter 1.
Well, the way you put it sounds kind of great.
The capricious slaughterer Mark Hoffmeyer.
There it is.
Here, seen in the bushes. Everything I say, just saying it like David Attenborough. So chapter 1 of Con Air. U.S. Army Ranger Sergeant Cameron see, I can't say his name. I can say Cameron Poe is honorably discharged and returns home to his barely pregnant barmaid wife, Trisha Poe, in Mobile, Alabama, which I always want to say is Mobile, but apparently it's Mobile. During their reunion, one of the bar's regulars, Billy Joe, interrupts, attempting to coax Trisha away and angering Cameron. But Trisha calms her husband with a slow dance to Trisha Yearwood's How Do I Live? Now, Mark, we need a guest to help us talk about this first chapter, and we have a kind of tradition with the films we covered before. All three of them, our first guest was the same for each one, and also I think for each of those times, it was a film he'd only recently seen for the first time. So it only seemed correct that be the case here. So, who is joining us for today's show, Mark? Please introduce yourself.
I'm just really honored. I'm really honored because this man went from Louisville, Kentucky, all the way to Mobile, Alabama on a jet ski just to get in the headspace for this episode. So we got to welcome Nick Rehack. Thank you for coming.
Hi, you're very welcome.
How was Louisville?
Louisville, great this time of year, man. I got down there and I got to hang out with the Sloggers and in Louisville, and it was just grand.
Now you're Mobile?
Yeah, I went from Louisville to Mobile, and then now I'm back in Bulmer.
Baltimore?
Bulmer.
Sounds like a Harry Potter character mixed with a Lord of the Rings character.
Baltimore. You best look out for that Lord Baltimore. He's going to put a spell on you.
Oh, he got me. Wait, what? Is that how people talk in Baltimore?
It's a very specific
South
dialect
Baltimore?
of like the Hamden area.
Just a block of people.
just literally 2 blocks of people, and they're just like, "Hey, you doing, hon?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine, thank you."
One does not simply walk into Maryland.
No.
Or Maryland, as
Baltimore?
I always say.
Well, we are named after Queen Mary.
There we go.
Sir Baltimore? No.
Lord
Baltimore?
Yeah, Lord. Hey, no, it's Lord Baltimore. He's done cast a crab spell.
He's really capricious.
Yeah, capricious Lord Balmer he is.
So Nick, this was your first time seeing Con Air.
It was.
What did you think?
I enjoyed it very much.
Well, actually,
I knew.
The question I should ask: why has it taken so long?
I just never got around to it. I mean, It was just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that, and then I just didn't.
We rented it from Netflix. He still has it in the case, the DVD. He just hasn't returned it yet.
That's probably why I got that collections letter the other day. I'm like, who do I owe $4,000 to?
I lost the thing to send it back. How do I do it?
The address doesn't
I
exist
can't just
anymore.
put in another one. It's not the same.
Yeah. It's in Baltimore.
You have to find me a stamp person. You mean a mailman? Yeah, a stamp person.
I did once call a bakery a bread store. I just want everyone to know that. So
this is true.
So a stamp.
It was on a podcast.
Hey, we had a guy at work, instead of a seafood counter, it was a fish deli. So.
Oh yeah, and I did that during a Con Air podcast episode.
Yep, the one
The
you
bread
did
store.
on movies, films, and flicks. Yes.
A Canadian bread store.
So sorry, Nick. I interrupted your initial thoughts on Con Air.
And then I
No, you're
interrupted.
fine. I really dug it. The only thing I knew about it was that Nick Cage, John Malkovich was in it, and then there's a scene where Nick Cage just kind of tosses his hair like as a breeze rolls by or something like that. That's all I knew about the movie.
That is the most famous shot from the film, easily. So.
Yeah. So as I watched it, I enjoyed it very, very much, and I'm kind of disappointed I didn't see it sooner.
Okay. Good. Well, we're glad that we've introduced it to you, if nothing else. That's our successful moment on the podcast so far. That's all we need, is we've brought Con Air to one person. So outstanding.
And now you can send it back to Netflix.
Yeah.
Finally. I'm very excited.
Well, should you just keep it at this point? And just
I'm going to find a way to like post date it. So this way when it comes, they're like, oh, you don't have to pay that $4,000 anymore. And I'm like, yeah, that's right.
It's been stuck in the postal service for 4 years.
Hey, I'm at COVID. What are you going to do? You know?
True. It's believable. So this chapter is about 3.5 minutes long. Something we found out on Deep Blue Sea, films are of exactly the same length run faster or slower in different countries. So this is approximate. It's about 3.5 minutes long, this chapter. And we start out with the Touchstone logo and the Jerry Bruckheimer Films logo. But then we've got lots of war footage. And actually found out the first shot of the army that we're shown is the British Army. So it's as much as it's kind of a gung-ho Americana. These are UK
the
soldiers.
original America.
Yes. Not all of this war footage isn't from the UK, but some of it apparently is from the first Gulf War, I think.
Can I drop something real quick about Touchstone real fast?
Please, yes.
Touchstone was basically a touchstone of my 90s. I mean, just watching these movies, if you think about it. So they released Ernest Goes to Jail, Ernest Scared Stupid, What About Bob, The Rocketeer, Ernest Scared Stupid again, I'm just going to say it because I love that movie. Captain Ron. I used to sit in wood shop in middle school and look at pictures of boats that I wanted to buy because I watched Captain Ron. Nightmare Before Christmas, which was huge.
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's the first film I saw in the cinema.
Like that movie just freaked me out. So just the movies that Con Air, Face Off, Starship Troopers. I mean, he got game. I'm just reading movies now, but I just want to say Touchstone really crushed it. Rushmore, jeez Louise. Yeah. So that's all I want to say. I have very fond memories of Touchstone, and I saw that Ernest Scared Stupid was released, so I had to get it into the podcast episode that we're doing right now.
This is their 17th highest grossing film worldwide by Touchstone, Con Air.
Sounds like this should have been called Cornerstone, huh?
Oh, the cornerstone of my childhood.
Jay, did you
Touchstone.
Get it? I get it.
Okay, I'm making sure. I didn't hear you like chuckle or anything. I was just making sure you heard me.
That was a good bit. And they also released Runaway, the 13th Warrior as well. I just want to get that out there. A movie that I adore.
Does it rank 13th for them now? That's the question.
Sadly, no. That's Unbreakable.
Oh,
but what I enjoy is that Con Air number 18, Flight Plan. 2 plane films. Jason on the list.
It's plain to see that they do well.
Yeah, that was her nonstop.
Number 3 is also a plane film. It's Pearl Harbor. That's depressing. That's quite so high. But there we go. But the number 1 is Armageddon, which I'm here all day for.
Another plane movie. Ship movie.
Yeah,
things in the air film.
There are planes in it. Yeah. Romeo and Juliet, number 22. Not a plane film, but a film I enjoy nonetheless. Jason Statham as Tybalt. I need nothing else in life than Jason Statham voicing a gnome playing Tybalt. Anyway.
You know what's funny? When I asked what my nickname should be for this episode, my wife Megan said the gnome thief, because in high school I was quite the cad, and a lot of lawn gnomes might have or might not have allegedly been in my possession.
What's the best gnome you stole?
Well, oh no, because people are probably still listening. There were articles written about this, so I still have some, but never guess where. I've national treasured them. I've hit them. So if they ever come to get me, it's gonna take Harvey Keitel, Sean Bean, Diane Kruger to find them. So yeah. No one will find.
A lot of people to go into his basement.
It's the house with the gnome with the long flowing hair, permanently set in the breeze outside. That's what if we were to ever have a merch store, that would be number 1 is a gnome with Nick Cage's hair from Connor.
For my wedding, Megan bought lawn gnomes and made lawn gnomes for all my groomsmen and myself, but like for their personality. So I'm looking at a Life Aquatic lawn gnome right now with the shoes, the hat, the vest, the gun.
It's really cool.
That's very cool.
Everything. Yeah. I'm a big lawn gnome guy, so I'm just really happy you brought up Romeo and Juliet with lawn gnomes. It's about time they got their due.
I have a gnome in my backyard. There's a little bush that grows, and I'll trim back the bush so you could barely see its head, but he's sitting on a toilet on his cell phone.
Yeah, okay.
And it brings much joy to my life. I'm like, look at him. And then he hides because the bush grows, and then when you trim the bush back, there he is.
You're like, forget about him.
Yeah.
It's a long conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to have him.
So we have more army footage, and then over this army footage we have the dulcet tones of one Powers Booth. It's doing the uncredited intro narration, explaining about the joy of being a ranger, and how rangers lead the way. They fought in every American war ever, and they're basically, and they fight on to the ranger objective and complete his mission, never leaving behind a fallen comrade, no matter what the odds or the enemy, which I feel like sets up some elements of Cameron Poe's character for later in the film, when he will not leave an injured soldier behind, as it were.
And Jerry Bruckheimer contributed that to the script. He was the one. So there are some people who say Nick Cage said he should be a ranger, but then there's also articles that say Jerry Bruckheimer is the one that suggested Nick Cage should be a ranger. So there's dueling stories here about who came up with the ranger idea, which I think is pretty interesting.
It's not a military rank that you see often in films, I think. I couldn't think of another one where a character was specifically a ranger.
I just flaked completely on that. I was thinking about Mountie.
Buzz Lightyear.
Yogi Bear.
Oh.
Or is that Air Force?
Space Ranger?
Space Force.
Ranger, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
done.
it. I couldn't think of any.
What about Yogi Bear? He's a ranger. Or you got Park Ranger.
Park Rangers. Yeah. Now, do you guys know what the average age of a ranger is?
Ooh. 37.
I'm gonna say 32.
23.
Oh.
Do you know how old Nick Cage was in this movie?
47.
32.
33.
Okay.
So he was one of the older rangers in the squad, so it makes sense that he's retiring. And nowadays, guess how much money a ranger makes a year?
Before or after taxes?
Before.
$24,500 American dollars.
I would say more than that. I would say like 35.
57 a year. You want to hear something interesting? Where I live in Georgia, if you go up north, you have this place called Helen, Georgia. And so it's like a German town in the middle of the mountains, kind of a fun touristy place. But my in-laws live about 30 minutes outside of it. And by them is a place called Yona Mountain. And that's where a lot of the Army Rangers do their like night. I don't know what the words are, but they run up the mountain. They do their I don't want to say games up there, but their
exercises.
Drills?
Yeah, exercises. There we go. Yeah, they do their bread stores up there, and so every now and again you'll go to this Ingalls and you'll just see almost an entire row of trucks of Rangers. They say like trucks parked, and then they get taken up to the Yona Mountain. So up there, there's a lot of Rangers around where my in-laws live. So I started thinking about that and like kind of his drive down to Mobile, Alabama. But yeah, just want to let you know that about Rangers and give you some quick facts.
They finish their exercises and they hit up a Zaxby's.
Yeah, and they get the bread from a bread store that's local. It's nice.
Yeah, they don't want the slice that you get at Zaxby's. They're bringing their own bread.
Well, I do like the Texas toast.
Oh, I'm not against it. I'm just saying these guys bring their own bread.
I love the idea of Texas toast and chicken. I don't like. I'm not all for it. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah. How do you feel about Texas toast and chicken?
I think it's delightful. You fold the toast, throw a piece of chicken on there, a little bit of sauce, and then just have at it.
Yeah. Well, you sold me. Never mind.
What is Texas toast?
I've been eating it wrong.
It's a thick piece of toast or bread that's been toasted and typically seasoned in a certain way.
Okay.
Very thick. Just think thick piece of bread.
Wow. Yeah,
flat.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Big
I get
piece
it.
of bread.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. You got it.
That seems
Like the
like
size of your car.
it's like a strange delicacy. Like it's bread, but thicker.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on the idea.
Well, once you've had it, you'll enjoy it.
Okay, you got to be there. Okay.
There you go.
You gotta be there.
So I'm looking at the 5 other Rangers that are being discharged along with Cameron Poe, and they all do look of a similar age. You can't really, their faces are obscured because they're the salute angle, but they all look around at the same age. And just the range of heights on these guys. There's one. Nick Cage is closer to us, but at the far end there's a guy who looks like he's 7 feet tall and has what looks like a vole strapped to his face in place of a moustache. It's huge from this end, but it's unfortunately you can't make out much about who any of these people are. One of them's son left a comment in a YouTube video saying they taught Nick Cage how to salute, and he's like the second from the end in here, so good for them. But I have no more information on these guys other than that. I don't think they were credited.
I'm gonna go on YouTube and just leave comments like that now.
Yeah.
On random videos.
Yeah, I can neither confirm nor deny this person's father taught Nick Cage how to salute. But there we go. But Powers Booth, prior to Con Air, he was the thing I know him from is Tombstone, which he's great as Curly Bill. But he's fantastic in that. But he'd also appeared in Cruising in 1980 as a hanky salesman.
Huh. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The hankies are a big part of. You guys ever see that movie?
No.
The hankies are. It's part of it. Like it's more than you think it would be.
Okay.
Powers Booth is the villain
In Sudden Death.
Yep.
That's what I was going to guess would be the credit you know him best from, Mark.
Kitchen fight.
Joshua Foss is his character's name in Sudden Death. As I'm sure
I just
you
want
know.
to say, how beautiful is it that? Okay, so I'm 39. I think we'll be 40 when this is released. But for me, in 97, seeing Nick Cage, John Malkovich, and John Cusack headlining this movie, it's such sort of different casting. I think you're used to, you have Nick Cage, but then you have Sean Connery. You know, you have
And Ed Harris.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, Ed Harris. Like you just get this. You sort of have. I felt like growing up, you just have these. You never had such an eclectic lead. I mean,
Nick
Speed
Cage and
had
John Travolta.
Yeah, and I guess in '90 you had Swayze and Keanu in Point Break. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But just seeing, it was like this was like the intellectual, like an action movie. You're like, Nick Cage. Like,
Speed's a good example actually, because I mean Keanu's an action guy, but then you throw in Jeff Daniels and Dennis Hopper as the people he's up against. That's a bizarre combo to pair him up with.
It's beautiful, right? And I guess it's, but just seeing, you're thinking like, is this the intellectual action movie? Because Cusack, I was just used to Grosse Point Blank, which I loved, and his run from the '80s, which I adored. John Malkovich, just had a really slick run going up into this, and then you had Nick Cage winning his Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas. I had never seen him bulked up like that. We can talk about it later, but just seeing these credits roll by and just seeing these three names, I remember just when I was 15, just really, this was just a new thought, like a new thing for me. You just didn't see this kind of action movie. So I was really excited by it. It piqued my curiosity for sure.
So I'm going to assume you saw this in the cinema, Mark?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I did not. I was 10 when this came out, 9 or 10, which is kind of before I was going to the cinema regularly. So I can't remember when I first saw this. I can't remember a time when Con Air did not exist to me, but I know for sure that I watched it on TV sometime and just loved it and watched it again and again and again after that. It's a film I adore and couldn't wait to talk about in as minute detail as we're going to on this show. But
you're right, that guy is 7 foot and he has a gnarly mustache.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, I love Powers Booth's voice. I think he's great for doing this narration. I've read somewhere that this is accused of being kind of tacked on and unnecessary, that the film could have just started when he walks into the bar. But I disagree. I feel I'd like this setting up of his character and establishing the Ranger ideals.
With he's such a capable character, and I think that makes the movie better. They're not trying, Die Hard. They had him coming in talking about being a cop, right? You had that opening before he even got in there talking. People see his gun, and you already establish his credentials. So I think it's important to show his credentials in a couple minutes rather than just be like he's on a plane. He's like, you better not mess with me because I was in the Army Rangers for 7 years. I ran up Yona Mountain in no time during my exercises. Then I went to Zaxby's and I got a chicken sandwich with some Texas toast. Like, you don't need that. You don't need that exposition. So right here, you're showing it, and you can move on. Like, it's just a quick intro. I dig it. And also sets up him with Odell and why he stays. Yeah. So I think it's smart for the entire narrative.
Yeah, agreed. But let's talk about Waingro. Let's not talk.
Dirtbag.
Let's not talk about Waingro. Let's talk about the song first, because we cut from the discharge to Cameron Poe arriving on a boat from Mobile, Alabama. I specified a boat because, Mark, I know you have an issue with this.
Well, yeah, because he's coming from like Fort Benning in Georgia, so it's a 4-hour drive. So it's kind of interesting that Monica Potter's character wasn't there for maybe the graduation because it's not that far, and then he just sort of shows up. Trisha doesn't show up, and then Trisha, hey. So he drives down, or he hitchhikes, takes a bus.
I mean, this doesn't look like a very official looking boat. This is some kind of fishing trawler. So
yeah, so he must. Yeah, do you think he went to party for a week and then that's his boy?
He didn't tell her. Yeah, he didn't tell her when he was being discharged. So
graduation yesterday was great. Yeah, so he's been out partying, and maybe his buddy Ralph dropped him off at the dock. But if he's traveling, well, no, he's still in his gear. Well, he could have done that. They could have partied all week, and then he could have dressed in that gear and pretended. But he's not that kind of guy. So he drives down, maybe hitchhikes, gets a bus. But instead of just driving there, he thumbs a ride from an old boat. Maybe he wants to do some fishing, and he's still in his uniform. Okay. So then
confusing.
He finds a boat, and then he's like, "Hey, y'all, can you take me to the Oyster Bar?" Yeah, which Oyster Bar? Oyster Bar.
The Oyster Bar.
Yeah, there's like so many oyster bars.
No, the.
Oh, so Hank's down by the river because that's the Oyster Bar. No, the Oyster Bar.
Dale's Oyster Bar.
And then the guy's like, "Are you messing with me, Cameron?" He's like, "No, just maybe I don't know that he doesn't have a phone, so he has to explain it. But that's a pretty long ride." from where he was coming from. So it's just an odd that he would come from a boat when I'm assuming when, the largest ranger school is in Fort Bennings. It's something really weird to nitpick, but I just sort of love that he took the most unoptimal.
See, my only guess is going to be like one of the other rangers there, like maybe their family came to see the graduation, and they were heading down to Pensacola, and so they gave him a ride to Pensacola, and he was like, okay, I can hitchhike from here. And they're like, no, this guy, my mate Keith, he's got a boat. He'll give you a ride all the way to Mobile, first class. And then Keith's boat is far from first class, but Cameron's too polite to turn down the offer.
And a fortnight later, he's in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah, they went the
at
long way
Oyster
around
Bar.
from Pensacola.
But yeah, it's just I don't know. When you look at the map, and I sent you a map.
You did. I'm looking at it.
So I sent that to you. And listen, I guess it's not the journey, it's the destination. It's how you get there. I don't know. It sounds like I'm quoting Homeward Bound, but it's.
I wish I was.
Yeah, but yeah, it's. I don't know. I just think his journey is pretty interesting. So that was the big thought I had.
I think I know why he took this boat. When you look at the shot, it's about the minute and 20-second mark when he's off the boat and we're looking dead on at it. And you can see there's some nets covering up the name. You can figure out what that name is. The name of the boat.
Yeah, it's Seal Beach.
It's Sexy Beach.
Oh, okay.
It's got to be Sexy
Yep,
Beach, right?
okay.
Why would it be Seal Beach?
Because I thought that's what it said.
Sexy Beach, man.
Yep, you are right.
Like Seal Beach, that's like in South Africa where the great whites attack, isn't it? There's like a Seal Beach.
I want to say you're right. Like I really want to. Oh, it's in. There's one in California.
Oh yeah,
but I don't know if it's the same thing.
Yeah. So sexy. So he's coming on. Oh, Sexy Beach.
Yeah. So they've put some kind of tarps or something over the side to kind of obscure some letters. But you're right. You can piece that together enough. They did not do a good job covering up those words.
Well, you have to really pause and look at it because it's kind of blink and you miss it.
Yeah,
like most sexy beaches out there, am I right? Get him, guys! It's Miller time, bro.
He does look to have a. Where's that high life?
He's gonna be Mad Dog on this Miller.
I was in this bar. There is a lot of Miller High Life, and I used to be in a band that was sponsored by Miller High Life for a while.
Really?
And then they saw one of our shows and stopped.
What was the name of the band?
The Brewskis.
How many bands have you been in, Mark?
Too many.
Okay.
But yeah, so we just decided to do a band. It was a bunch of people from cover bands who decided to make a band, like a joke band. So I was Mitch Brewski. And then we had a pretty good first show. And we were all in character. We all brothers. We were from the Pacific Northwest. We were like the biggest thing out of the Pacific Northwest since Nirvana.
Yeah, band of brothers.
We, all like, I had sleeveless shirt, a bunch of like fake tattoos, and we had horrible songs like A Vampire Drank My Blood and She Got Drunk. Rambo is an a-hole. I Hate Heineken, stuff like that. And we got a High Life sponsorship, and we had High Life people come out and do all this stuff. And then I guess like one of the regional reps saw the show, pulled the plug. Quick. So we lost our, I wouldn't call it sponsorship. They just showed up at our shows, like when the Brewskis were there, the High Life people were there. But yeah, we lost it. Just want to let y'all know that. We were regular hound dogs back then.
Now you're just not living the high life anymore.
Well, I'm very happy about that. Give me a pretentious IPA all day. Good name for a band.
Yeah, and when later
opening for the Phantom Planets.
Later in this chapter, Cameron gets called Captain Huckleberry, which is the name of a Swedish beer, if you're wondering.
Ooh.
So there's a loose connection.
I have some Swedish descent. You know that.
There we go. So as he gets off the boat, we hear...
Wait, what's the name of the boat?
Of the Sexy Beach, which I'm desperately hoping will not be the title of this chapter. But there we go. So a song starts playing. That song is How Do I Live, sung by, not Leanne Rimes, sung by Trisha Yearwood.
I like the Leanne Rimes version better.
I spent about half an hour prior to this podcast listening to them alternating, and that is a bad way to spend half an hour. But Mark, I know you've looked into this song. Do you want to explain some controversy that went down with this?
Ooh. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So I was researching this, and I I always find that there's some when there's movies like this, especially from the 90s, you find some really juicy bits about the soundtrack. So, Diane Warren wrote this. She also wrote Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith. So I learned about the evolution of that song when I was researching Armageddon. So I was researching this. I learned that they initially contracted LeAnn Rimes to sing this song, but she was 15 years old singing this song. The problem was the execs at Touchstone were kind of like, well, it's like a 15-year-old singing this song. Like, we want someone, a little older. We want some more emotional, we want some more emotional weight for this, is what they said. So then they brought in, yeah. Just wait a year and let her sing it again. The industry ages you. So then they went and they got Trisha Yearwood to sing it. And so Trisha didn't even know about Rimes recording prior to this. So then she records it. But then she was on tour, and then she learned that LeAnn Rimes did a video for the song. And then these songs were both released on May 27, 1997 together. Like, they were released on the same time. And radio stations, like, this was like the most requested thing. And then they also did a mashup of it in 97, and people would call in and request a mashup of the two singing the same song. And then at the Grammy Awards, they had LeAnn Rimes sing it. But then she didn't win.
She didn't win
the award.
What?
Yearwood won the trophy.
What?
So LeAnn Rimes went on to sing the song, and then they gave it to Trisha Yearwood. But the crazy thing is, right, it was released, so these were released in the same week. Yearwood's version, I'm reading this from a Ringer article, Yearwood's version was on the charts for only 12 weeks, while Rimes' version spent a record-breaking 69 weeks on the chart, 32 weeks in the top 10 alone, and 25 of those weeks in the top 5, which set yet another record. And then eventually Bruno Mars' Uptown Funk and Chainsmokers' Closer broke that. But Rimes' version ranked number 4 on Billboard's all-time top 100. It is the most successful single by a female artist on the list. So she sang the song. They let Trisha Yearwood sing the song for the soundtrack that played. And she won the Grammy and was nominated for an Oscar. But LeAnn Rimes' song was much more popular than Trisha Yearwood's song. So they both got a lot out of it. But on the same night, they were both nominated for the same song. And LeAnn Rimes performed it, and Yearwood won.
Has that ever happened? That's never happened before outside of that, right?
Didn't you have that with Seal on Kiss from a Rose when Batman Forever came out?
Well, I mean, I didn't want to talk about it.
In 95 when you were 6 years old?
In 95 when I was going on 6 years old.
That's why they cut it. They said there wasn't enough emotional weight.
Yeah. They were like, why is a 6-year-old singing about kissing roses? And it's like, well, I don't have a lot of friends in preschool right now, and my mother's a gardener.
And roses are at my head height.
Yeah, like,
what else am I gonna kiss?
Little Nicky Rehack. What was your name? What was your name back then?
It was Little Nicky Rehack.
It was Lil. So it was the L-I apostrophe. It was Lil.
Yeah, Little Nicky Rehack. And you belted that song out. It just
belted it, dude.
I guess, listen, Steele's is wonderful, and yes, it's a beautiful song. And he does capture the more adult nuance, but you hit kind of like a childhood. Your song was basically E.T., but a song.
Essentially. And the weird thing is, too, like, I was very fashion forward for the time. So, like, I had the Von Dutch trucker hats, and everyone's making fun of me for it, right? But then all of a sudden, here comes Punk'd. Here comes Ashton, and everybody's in on it. And I'm like, get out of here. I did it first.
You had Jinkos in that video, from what I remember.
It's so funny you bring it up. Because I did. And I even had a goofy pair made with a third leg, and people thought that was highly inappropriate. And I'm like, why? Third legs are funny. And they're like, no, you're too young to understand. And I'm like, I think I understand a third leg. And they said I did not.
That was your second single that just didn't do great. My Third Leg.
Yeah. Jinko dropped me very quickly after that song came out. Von Dutch was for it, though. I don't understand.
Quicker than Miller High Life dropped me. They dropped you from that song.
Well,
did you have
lives we've lived?
The shirt? Did it have? It was like a hockey shirt with kind of the butt of a penguin on the back, and then a penguin exploding through the front of your shirt. Was that? Yeah.
Yes, it was. And you know how they got the inspiration? My father is a taxidermist, and he mounted a bear. And one half of the bear was through a wall, and when you went into the other room, it was the back half of the bear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I can barely stand it. That's amazing.
Yeah, the bear was also head height, so it was almost Kiss from a Bear. And I'm like, no. Let's go Roses, because bears are scary.
Yeah. That's a good song, actually, for a kid.
Right? Not bad.
Let's get a kiss from a rose because bears are scary. I'll probably sing that to my daughter.
There you go.
So how do I love? How do I live was one of the. I'm just trying it.
Jay, sometimes I feel like we just leave you in the ocean on a lifeboat by yourself. And then you're just kind of...
I mean, you've lived a more storied life than I have, so I don't understand many of your references. But that's fine. The guests always do. So I'm just happy to spectate. So yes, How Do I Live? Leanne Rimes was
crazy.
Was one of the most popular wedding songs from that year, along with As Long As You Love Me by the Backstreet Boys, Truly Madly Deeply by Savage Garden.
Oh, Savage Garden.
Hell yeah.
Is that the one? Is that the Cherry Cola one?
Yes,
it is. Like a drink of Cherry Cola.
That's a different one.
I would cry by
same
you
thing.
by a river.
Sorry,
I would beg by you by the sea.
Yeah,
No, that's
yeah,
not the one.
it's that one. Yeah.
Oh, it's
I'll be your dream, I'll
stay
be your
like
wish,
this
I'll be your
forever
fantasy.
until the sun washes
Yeah,
over
that's
me.
Truly Madly Deeply. That's the really romantic one. The Cherry Cola is a better song, but it's not as good for weddings apparently. But
see the place in
I mean, I don't think so.
on this list, one that stuck out to me was Go the Distance from the Hercules soundtrack as being a good wedding song.
Oh man.
Yeah, because you've gone the distance with your spouse, your fiance.
Yeah, you have.
Well, I danced to that. I danced to The Gambler by Fun with my wife for our wedding. That was our song.
Ours was At Last, Etta James. But
Our version, dude.
Our band played. Our band gave us a playlist and we could pick songs on it. And one of the songs that we picked, that I picked, that immediately emptied the dance floor was the Ghostbusters theme tune. No, I did not judge the guest list of the wedding well, it turned out. But hey, everyone went and got a drink at that moment.
Hey man, Buster makes
Open
you feel
bar. Yeah.
It was not an open bar.
Well, it's good for the bartenders.
We could not
Appreciated
afford
it.
an open bar. Okay. So Mark, you mentioned that you have a daughter. You're a recent father. Have you ever did you ever try and talk to the unborn child inside of your wife?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Jesus, Jay.
What?
I mean, that's my daughter. Like, I was like, hi, how you doing? I read Infinite Jest to her. I'm a big fan of ICP, so I read the lyrics of all their songs to her.
Of course, yes, you got it. Yeah. It's a classic.
I read all the footnotes of Infinite Jest. I actually put on that movie, The End of the Tour, which is about the Infinite Jest book tour with Jason Segel and Jesse Eisenberg, and I played that for her. But yeah, I played all the jams.
So
and
I think Nick may have passed away. I'm not
sure. Yeah, no, I did all of it. Yeah.
I wasn't ready for David Foster Wallace, man. Woo!
Yeah, I found all of his interviews on YouTube, and I played those. So yeah.
Her bassinet's in the shape of a tennis racket.
The entertainment. I filmed her. Yeah, exactly. Tennis racket. I did play tennis growing up, so that's kind of.
Hey,
and I did work.
too.
I did work in the film industry, so that the book did kind of ring. You know what I want to do? I want to have like 40 copies of the book around my house, Nick. Just to like, I'm gonna put 8 in my bookshelf, just to mess with people.
Now here's the thing: do they all look the same, or do you try to purposely find different published versions in paper and hardback?
Only hardcover, same book.
All right, okay.
And when people see it, I go, weird. I didn't know that. I'm like, open it. It's dangerous. You know what? I think the best footnotes happen on page 32 and 66.
So Monica Potter, we meet Monica Potter as Trisha Poe in this chapter. I know her better from Patch Adams and Saw.
Oh man, she gets Patch Adam'd.
She does get
in
Patch Adams.
Does
She does.
Not? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a brutal film, but also Saw, similarly brutal film. That's actually the only things that I've seen Monica Potter in are those 3 films. Anything I'm missing? Do you people who have seen more films than I?
Well, let me look up her filmography. I
Al-
know. Let's
Along
see.
Came a Spider. She's in Bulletproof.
Oh, of course, I've watched that.
Oh,
Head Over
Sequel
Heels,
set down
Freddie
beside
Prinze Jr.
2009, Last House on the Left.
Oh, she's the mom in that. Yeah, she's legit.
Yeah, I think she's great. I just haven't seen anything she did other than these other two films.
She gets Patch Adam though. That movie, I was not ready for that movie. I don't even. That really messed with me. Because you're like, I'm gonna watch this happy movie.
It's a comedy. It's about a doctor who makes people. Oh dear. Yeah. Okay. Fun times.
She's in a movie called A Cool Dry Place.
I mean, that's where you should store it. Yeah.
I mean, it made me want to think about what those are. Like Arizona at night.
Russell, single father, balances his work as a lawyer with the care of his 5-year-old son after his wife abandoned them. When she reappears, creating turmoil, he must deal with his new love interest and a job opportunity of a lifetime. Starring Vince Vaughn, Monica Potter, and Joey Lauren Adams.
She's in a lot of love triangle movies.
Yeah.
Wait, is Chasing Amy a love triangle movie?
Kind of.
More like a love Chinese finger trap movie.
Well, and she's in Dazed and Confused, and Jason London is kind of, I guess, hitting on another woman in that movie.
Was he the dazed or was he the confused one?
He was the and.
Yeah, he was the and.
The
Who
old
was the
ampersand.
Dazed was Rory Cochrane. Confused was the young kid who keeps Wiley Wiggins.
As a film I've seen once, so I'm glad you did not throw it to me to name a cast member, because I think I would have flailed and failed.
I read the book about the making of it. It was really cool. Brian Raftery has some quotes in it, and he was a guest on Deep Blue Sea, the podcast.
He was indeed.
So Monica Potter?
Yep, I think she's great in this. We'll talk about her more as the film goes on, because she's in more other films, other scenes. Cameron talks to the baby inside of her, and says that she's going to be Miss Alabama. So I looked up. If we assume that the flash forward scenes that we're going to get soon, they take place in 1997, that's when little Casey is 8. So she would have been 21 in 2010. Miss Alabama in 2010 was Ashley Davis. So that is who would have beaten, that is who we assume beat Casey Poe to the title. She did not make her daddy proud, unfortunately. Ashley Davis, her talent was singing. Sadly, she was not singing "How Do I Live." As perfect as that would have been, I had my fingers crossed. No, she was singing "If I Had My Way" from the musical of the same name. But at the Miss World Championship, she won an award in the lifestyle and fitness category for the preliminary swimsuit award. I just was interested to see did Casey Poe win? No, she didn't. She's fictional. No, we know.
Tough competition that year.
Yeah, must have been. But Kevin Gage, Waingro, interrupts the dance. Always play the dirtbag. Does Kevin Gage? So much so that he was arrested in 2013 for drug possession.
Yikes!
Yeah, he's out now. It was allegedly for medical reasons. I'm not going to go into it. Also, he was once married to Kelly Preston, R.I.P. Which I didn't know. But Kevin Gage is great at playing scumbags, as shown in this very chapter where he plays a scumbag. Now, Mark, you have experience working in bars as a bouncer.
Yeah.
Reading Kevin Gage, he's trying to start a fight, right? He's not trying to take Trish away for a dance. He's trying to start a fight with Cameron, I think.
He's just aggressive out of the gate, which is like easy, man. He just can't give it a second.
This is trouble. And also, too, in the unrated cut of this, he calls, I'm not going to say it just to get us explicit, but he calls her, "With your little blonde bee kitty here." And then he goes, "When you get back, we'll talk about letting me play night baseball with your little blonde bee kitty here." So that's the unrated cut.
Night baseball, not a term I've heard for what he's insinuating.
It's a Waingro.
It says Waingro, yeah.
If Nick said that, we would take it earnestly. But if Waingro says it, you're like, oh.
I still might edit it out if Nick said it.
What, if I said night baseball?
Yeah.
I've played tennis at night.
Oh,
When I was
yeah.
in college, we would skip the last class of the day, which is like 6 o'clock. We would go to the tennis courts and we would play until the lights shut off at 11:15. And then we found the box for the lights and we started turning them back on. But then security would catch us and we'd have to run back to the dorm at like 1 a.m. That's
We got to hit sometime, Nick.
we do.
Sounds lovely.
I have a phenomenal backhand.
See, I have a terrible backhand.
Oh, see, I'll have to show you my trick. It's pretty good.
You're not a slicer, are you?
Yeah, I'm a slicer.
Oh, man. Yeah, you've already beaten me.
Don't you never know.
Don't people say that sports are 90% mental, 1% physical, or act like I was 99% mental. Like you could just get in my head. I was good, but I definitely I basically McEnroed a lot. Yeah, and my coach would just kind of swear at me and tell me to calm down. And yeah, but yeah, if you're a slicer, you got me already.
Yeah, I developed it early because I never did backhands the correct way, but I really leaned into the slice, and I can make it work for me.
On a breezy day, it just goes. You slice it so hard it goes behind you about 50 feet.
Yeah, it's aggressive sometimes. Not all the times, but sometimes.
I want to see that. Just get footage of yourself. Go out and film yourself doing this. I just want to see it.
It's almost the summertime. My cousin and I and some guys from high school, we tend to get back up and start playing again. So I'd have to do that.
YouTube it. Live stream.
I feel like I could quite easily cut this conversation to sound like something that Kevin Gage would be saying, like filming yourself in your aggressive backhand, playing night tennis till the lights go out.
Now, the one thing I do really like about this scene is in this movie, Nick Cage, Cameron Poe, you show here that he has that temper, and I like that. You establish that he was trouble, and now he has elite training. But just watching this scene with Nick Cage, I fully buy him in this scene when he kind of like he's pissed and he's ready. Like he's ready to go. Waingro got to him. Like he's not gonna stop this. And so I like that. I also like there's a bit of an edge to Cameron Poe in this movie. Yes, in some moments he's kind of a saint, but he's very sassy. Like he never backs down from anybody. Like when someone comments something to him, he always has a response back. And I love that about the character. So I think establishing here that he has a bit of a temper it feels quite organic in regards to what happens later. So I think it's some really good performing by Potter here because she kind of gets him back down. But I also think Cage, this is a good moment. This is good acting by him right here. And you see his temper. And I think they hired this movie has such a plethora of huge actors. So bringing in Waingro just to piss him off for 20 seconds is such a smart move because, just the amount of like ooze he exudes just gets you sort of annoyed already. So I just love this scene. I think Cage, he shows, I don't know, he's quite intimidating in this moment. So I think it's a very effective scene. I'm just going to say, I don't think the scene gets enough credit, but I love this moment.
Yeah, he's intimidating with just the slightest lean forward. That's all he has, just kind of approaching Waingro just a little bit. And that's all you can tell the physicality there.
It's good, right? It's a good
great
scene. Yeah, I like it though. It's just, I don't know. I think I also like too that you're not setting this character up as a saint. Like this is a dude who has a temper, he has an edge. It leads to this, and then so when he's not on this plane as the nicest man alive. Like this is a dude who will go too far in some instances. So I dig it. I like that they set this scene up, and it is well acted. So, and I like all the extras in this bar. Normally, have we talked about this, Jay and Nick? Have we talked about this at all? Oh, I hate bar scenes in movies.
We haven't. I'm not a fan of like restaurant scenes that always start with a waiter walking past the camera. That pisses me off every time. And we don't quite have that here because Trisha is the bartender. She's the one serving the drinks, so she just doesn't walk past the camera. But what is it you hate about them so much, Mark?
Oh, all right, so mostly I would say it comes down to everyone seems to be having the best time ever. So look at The Hobbit. Every time they walk into an inn or a pub, everyone is laughing.
The prancing
in the
pony.
bar.
Yeah.
Everybody is laughing like they just heard the funniest joke ever, slamming drinks all over the place, guffawing everywhere. And it just always, I don't know. It's like, I've spent many years in bars working at these places in my, well, I guess when I was younger. Yeah. obviously when I was younger. I'm younger. Yeah, never mind. But no one's ever like that. Everyone's just so this one seems pretty relaxed. People are sort of dancing. I like the lighting in here. It's just not people aren't too exuberant. And I do like that you have the three guys who sit in the corner in the regular spots right there, kind of ne'er-do-wells, but you feel like they have their spot, and that's where they sit. So I think I don't know. Listen, I'm overanalyzing it, but I do think it is the extras are good. I kind of like the dancing. I like the lighting. They keep the frame close on Nick Cage and Monica Potter, so you don't see a lot of the background, which I think is smart. So you're not taken away by a really bad dancing extra. I was a bad dancing extra in a movie, by the way. I'm not going to say which one because you might find it. But yeah, okay. So yeah, I just think it's an effective scene. They did the good close up. You establish the temper. You have a dirtbag come in. Monica Potter makes a quick, Tracy? No, yeah, Tracy. Trisha Poe. Why did I get that mixed up? Oh, whatever. But yeah,
because it's Casey as the daughter, so Trisha and Casey. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just think it's a good scene. It establishes the temper. You have the dirtbags in there. There's dirtbags in every bar. Yeah. You have extras that don't annoy me. No one's slamming a drink, laughing like they heard the funniest thing ever.
I have tried to orchestrate that moment before. Like when I've been in a bar and I've known a friend's coming, I've started ramping up a story and tried to hit the punchline just as they're going to come through the door. But the problem is I don't have any funny stories. So whenever I've tried to do that, it's the person just come in to me trying to explain a part of the joke I missed early on, and it just doesn't work. I just don't get that.
So why is the camera smoking? Why is the camel smoking a cigarette?
He played golf, and yeah, it just doesn't work. It's not possible.
My favorite thing is when it's like a semi-empty bar and someone we know comes in and we just start flailing our arms and pointing at us and shouting their name like, hey, we're over here, hey. And even though they get close to us, we get louder and flail even harder, and it's just embarrassing for everybody.
Oh, see, that's fun because that's orchestrated, right? That's pre-orchestrated.
Yeah, we know we're gonna do it. It's like, oh, here we go.
See, that's fun. I just think in these movies, when you watch these almost every pub scene in movies from medieval times, everyone's just slamming drinks and slapping each other's backs, and I would just be in misery in one of those bars. Like, give me a bar stool, give me a jukebox and a dart board, very dark lights, and then I'm happy.
A shuffleboard table that someone's leaning up against and you don't want to go talk to them and ask them to step away so you can play, so you're like pensively waiting because you don't like confrontation. Like, that's perfect.
Exactly. I just put Fog Hat Slow right on 6 times in a row,
staring at them until they get the point.
Yeah, but they get the point.
Hey, are you gonna mad dog that table all night, or are you gonna go on?
So what are you saying?
I'm saying
move. Play darts. You know, that's what Niall, who's on the Movie Stones on Flicks podcast, he and I used to play darts all the time in Korea. Like to show up, play darts. I could never be slapping someone's back in a bar.
What if they were choking and you were poorly performing the Heimlich?
If they were laughing like that and then started choking, I wouldn't. But if they just randomly took a bad bite and started choking, then I would hit their back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So one issue that comes up often with this film is that Trisha is clearly not very pregnant, but Cameron has only just been discharged from service. So he would have come back fairly recently to impregnate her, then gone back to service, and then be discharged again.
I mean, you get weekend leave and you're 4 hours away.
That's true.
Quick motorcycle trip, you're there.
Yeah, maybe they were really forward thinking back then, and it's like, hey, we're having problems conceiving. Well, let me, dump a couple loads and store them off to the side, and you can go through treatments, and maybe one of them will take. I don't have to be there. Syringes, etc. Turkey basters, what have you.
Good. Glad I brought that up. Excellent. And I have 2 other quick points.
The way you explained it, Nick, is you're just slapping stuff in Tupperware, throwing it in the freezer.
And labeling it. They're not just going willy-nilly.
With the date. Best
and
Buy.
The time.
Best.
Speaking of the time, I would like...
military time.
I would like Trisha to tighten her watch strap. Because her watch keeps on rotating around her wrist while she's dancing.
A lot of lady watches do that.
Well, but then tighten the bloody strap.
I have a lot of bracelets right now that are loose on my arm.
Right,
Yeah.
bracelets are fine because there's not one part of the bracelet that's supposed to be facing up at all times.
How do you know?
I don't.
I mean, when you're
I'm
a
assuming.
bartender, you gotta like so. You know, when she turns to carry a big tray of stuff, maybe she wants to have it loose so then it flips around, so then it's kind of on the inside of her wrist, so that she can see it when she's holding her tray. It's an old bartender trick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for that. And we kind of skipped over it. We have some opening credits to this one. We have Nick Cage, John Cusack, and John Malkovich are the three named actors that we see who's credited here. But we have Nicolas Cage, and then a full 10-second gap before John Cusack, 1 second gap, John Malkovich. And then that's it for like 2 minutes left of the chapter with no more names.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think so. I appreciate that. Like, Nick Cage is the star, and then you'll wait before you see anyone else's names. God damn it.
Do you think that was in his contract? Like, because if it's 10 seconds there, they thought about that actively. I wonder if the 8 seconds, 6? No, not
It's
6,
10
not
seconds.
6.
I timed it.
10 seconds. That's interesting. I didn't even notice that. That's fun. You're just a regular old hound dog there, Jay. Hunting
Sniffing
stuff
it
down.
out.
Yeah. 10 seconds. Well, I mean, he carries this movie. I think
It's his
Malkovich
film.
should be before Cusack, because I always forget about Cusack in this movie. Like, I forget about the fire truck chase. I have to watch it. Every time I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, this happened. But yeah, it's in a perfect world, it should be Nick Cage, 10 seconds, Malkovich, and then Cusack. What do you think?
I agree, and I also agree with being able to forget John Cusack's in this film. We'll get there in later chapters when Cusack is apparently in them. Because he's been quite vocal in not being a fan of making this film, as has Malkovich, to be honest, which is a shame. But I think both of them kind of took this as a lesser project. But where Malkovich commits, Cusack perhaps didn't as much. We'll
Get there, but they have
we'll
positive
get there.
things to say, Jay. They've been saying positive things lately.
Okay, that's good.
So we'll talk about it when they're on there.
Okay,
I don't want to deep blue see it and blow everything in the first
No,
episode.
absolutely
I want to
not.
spread some
But
stuff out.
I listened to an interview with Simon West earlier today, the director, and he was disappointed with the reactions that Cusack and Malkovich had upon the film's release. But yeah, I look forward to talking about that more in future chapters. But do we have anything? Is there anything else in this chapter that you want to talk about?
I mean,
Well-
I appreciate the neon signs. I feel like in bars nowadays, we don't have a lot of neon signs. They're replaced by LED or some kind of faux wood ridiculousness. And, there's a lost art of neon. And, films like these harken us back to the better times.
I think that's why I love neon films so much. They've been crushing it lately.
Must be.
No, but like you got the High Life signs in there. No, this is a good bar. The Oyster Bar it's a good spot. A little dangerous. There's some murderers in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Waingro comes up on them hard. But in movies like this, though, you just got to get to prison. You got to get to the fights. So I think, this movie's still under 2 hours, which I have no problem with longer movies. I'm not one of those people, but this movie packs in an obscene amount of things in a 2-hour movie.
One might call it a wallop.
Yeah, it packs a wallop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's infinitely entertaining.
And infinitely jesting.
And it has rain fights. It has squat fights. But I also want to say Nick Cage would go on to produce a movie a few years from this release called Shadow of a Vampire. And it would star John Malkovich and Willem Dafoe. But if you have not watched Shadow of a Vampire,
I've never heard of it.
Willem Dafoe was nominated for an Oscar. It's
on
about
my
the
list.
filming of Nosferatu.
Yeah.
They're
Ooh.
suggesting that
Max Shrek.
Yeah, Max Shrek was actually a vampire, and Murnau just found him somewhere. Cary Elwes is in it. He continues as a good vampire streak with Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's a funny film, and Willem Dafoe and John Malkovich just put on beautiful performances, and Nicolas Cage produced it. So if you're bored and you want to watch a good vampire picture, watch Shadow of a Vampire. Nominated for an Oscar. One of the rare horror performances that was Oscar nominated, Willem Dafoe.
Well, one thing that is not in this chapter, there are 0 cons in this chapter, and none of them are up in the air. So we have 0 cons in the air. I'm going to keep track of this. At some point, we're going to have cons in the air, I hope.
I like it.
But so far,
are we?
no cons in the air.
So cons, you can't look at them and be like, I'm pretty sure they've been arrested.
I mean,
You
I'm
have
pretty
to-
sure that Waingro here has done some time, or his two buddies, but it's not confirmed. And even if they had, they're not in the air. I need these cons to be elevated. To count.
Good point.
So, yeah.
All right, so are we gonna keep track of that throughout?
I'm gonna try. We've got to have some kind of running theme. that's the best thing I come up with.
Which scene has the most cons and the most air?
That's the plan.
How do you gauge air? Oh, I guess they're in the air because like how much do you breathe?
I'm gonna try and work that out as we go. Cross that bridge when we're flying over it.
Because in an airplane,
Literally.
do you have as much air if you're on the ground?
I have made this commitment without thinking it through, but hey, that's where we are. So good. Nick, thank you for joining us for our first chapter of Con Air. Where can the listeners find more of you online?
They can find more of me over at Rehack Radio on Mixcloud.com, a handful of guest episodes on Exploding Helicopter, as well as movies, films, and flicks. I was also recently on an episode. Bubba Wheat has this program. Oh, God, I'm going to butcher the name. I believe it's Lyrical Innuendo.
That is correct.
Nailed it. And he brought me on, and we discussed Come On Eileen by Dexy's Midnight Runners. Had a ball. Very excited to have done that. And yeah, that's where I'm at. Also, Simon West directed the Rick Astley music video, Never Gonna Give You Up.
Very nice. He also directed The Expendables 2, I believe.
Which features jet skis.
He couldn't shoehorn him into here, could he?
No.
No, that is a shame. I mean, there's motorbikes at the end, which are like the jet skis of the land, I guess.
Are they now?
It's a stretch, but I mean, and he directed Lara Croft Tomb Raider, the sequel to which features Lara Croft punching a shark. So,
that's beautiful.
Connections all around. Mark, what have you got to plug?
Let's see. Just movies, film, and flicks. Movies, films, and FLIX. And then Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I do recommend you listen to the Lost World Jurassic Park episode that Nick and I recorded.
Oh, movies, films,
lots of jet ski talk, lots of bathroom talk, lots of we did so many riffs. Oh, lots of jet ski talk, lots of Nick Nolte talk, blasting through LA on a jet ski. Oh, spelling. Also, shout out to our friends over at the Last Action Hero podcast, where they actually spelled out how would be spelled out in the UK.
That was awesome.
A big shout out to them. And the Last Action Heroes, I butchered their name. They have an episode about Hard Boiled that just got released. That's a lot of fun. So check that out. So the Last Action Heroes. But yeah, they spelled out how would it be spelled in the UK. So listen to that.
Nice.
Excellent. I will concur with your plugging of Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. When this episode gets released, well, prior to this episode, we have been doing Deep Blue Sea adjacent films. That's films directed by Rennie Harlin or featuring sharks or aquatic action. One whole movie a week. We're going to step back from that and focus on Con Air, the podcast. Deep Blue Sea is going to keep going, probably one a month, we'll see. But you can head over there. We've got Nick's been on for a few episodes. He was on for at least one chapter of all of the Deep Blue Sea trilogy, a Deep Blue Sea character draft, and then he came on for Shark Night 3D, Godzilla vs. Biollante, and then the Shark Night 3D retrospective, focusing on the incredible music video at the end of that film.
When's that coming out?
I have no idea. Hopefully before this comes out, but yeah, we'll see. That's going to be a fun time editing that one. I haven't even opened the file yet. I can't even think about editing that one.
That one's loose. That is a loose episode.
And then I host an episode of the Lambcast once a month, which is the large association of movie blogs, a site I shepherd. Which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a huge collection of online movie blogs, over 2,000 members at the moment. If you have a movie blog or podcast and want to join a like-minded community of other film fans, then come and join us over at largeassmovieblogs.com. The Lambcast is its weekly podcast, and it has a monthly Lampardy show that is movie trivia, very similar to Jeopardy, and I host that once a month. Nick and Mark have both been on before. Neither of them did very well, but it was a fun time. It was had by all.
But hey, my questions do well, and
yes.
I feel like that's what counts.
Can Nick and I be on an episode together?
I will
just
see what I can do. Yes.
You got to get another. Maybe Heather can join us. Just three maniacs.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Good. Well, that'll do it for chapter 1 of Con Air, the podcast. We did it, Mark. We've been talking about this for a long time, but we finally started this thing.
Years.
I mean, I think that is true. But since we had Nick Dissemblin on from Empire Magazine on DPC, immediately after that conversation, we talked about doing Con Air. So that was almost 2 years ago. Wow.
You love my Con Air seating chart. He inspired that.
Yeah, that's something you should plug. You have a Con Air seating chart.
Oh, yeah. And the cast helped me.
They did, and yes, we'll talk about that. So, Nick, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
I've been Jay, Captain Huckleberry Cluett.
Mark, the capricious slaughterer Hoffmeyer. I'm tired of that name already. It's effective.
Not the only one. Come really back next week, or the bunny gets it. Sayonara.
That sounded really good.